Hello. I'd like to talk today about the human brain. Studying the human brain is an interesting paradox because it's the brain studying itself. The brain is a constantly evolving phenomena that is flooded with neurons, synapses, and all types of chemicals that make up the building blocks for our memories, our judgments, our personalities, everything. The way we experience the world is ingrained in our brains. And the study of the human brain is intriguing to most people because most people have one. And it's the most complex puzzle ever. However, the human brain is still the least understood study in human history. For as long as I can remember, I've always been fascinated with the brain. I'm constantly doing research on the brain and reading up on the most recent scientific articles and such. Very cool stuff. So I'd like to share it with you. First, I want to talk about what the brain is itself, and then I'd like to talk about the parts of the brain and the function of those parts that we understand now. We think we know, you know, exactly what it does. And then I'd like to talk about what we don't know the brain does. Just a few of those things. There's plenty of them, but I just kind of cherry picked a few of them I thought were very interesting. Uh, so the best way to explain to someone, most people, how the brain works is to compare it to a computer. Um, such as a team went to Japan to use the K computer, which is our best, fastest, strongest computer ever, to try to simulate what a brain does. And it took the computer 40 minutes with the help of 82,944 processors to simulate what a human brain does in 1 second. So that's quite a bit of work for that 1 second of brain activity. Uh, and that's as close as we've gotten to mimicking what the human brain does. There are 6 major parts of the human brain that we've studied thoroughly through using magnetic resonance imaging, the MRI, as you most know it. Uh, so we think we know what we're talking about when it comes to the parts of the brain. The parietal lobe is in the center top of the brain. It processes spatial awareness, pain and touch sensations, and visual perception. Um, the occipital lobe is right back here, the very back of your brain, right before the neck starts, right at that point. It processes what our eyes see and what our brains dream. The cerebellum is a little bit lower than the occipital, and it deals with the motor skills and coordination and timing and the fear and pleasure sensations, as well as attention span. The brainstem is the smallest. It's at the very back, right below the cerebellum, and it kind of goes into the neck a little bit. It's the brain's warning system and the alertness for the brain. The temporal lobe is by your ears here, and it's responsible for what you hear and deciphering exactly what you heard. The frontal lobe is at the very front. It's the largest lobe of the brain. It's responsible for your personality, your judgments, your problem solving skills, your cognition, and your memory. So, some of the things that we don't quite understand is one of them is how our information is coded. And we understand how it gets there and things like that, but we don't understand how it's there permanently, or long term at least, or even short term. Uh, we just don't know how it's storing that information. And another thing is time. Time is different with the brain, and that's weird. That's a phenomena. We hear faster than what we see, so that's why we use the bang of a gun during a foot race instead of a flash of a light, because that sound of that gun going off stimulates us faster than what a flash of a light would be. So, and another example would be if you go to the mirror and you look at your left eye and then you switch your gaze to your right eye, you'll notice a time delay there. And, you never blinked the whole time. How'd you miss it? So, it's interesting. Another thing is the placebo effect, how you can give someone a sugar pill and tell them that it actually does this, and it won't actually do that biologically, but the brain somehow makes you believe that it is, and it still does it. It still has the outcome as the people that actually took the drug. So that's very interesting. So I'd like to review what we've gone over. We've gone over the brain itself. We compared it to the computers. The brain lobes, the parietal, the occipital, the cerebellum, the brainstem, the temporal, the frontal, and we also went over the brain functions that we don't really understand. So in conclusion, even though we don't know everything about the brain, we will one day. And that day that the brain understands itself, the brain will be completely and absolutely manipulated by itself. So I wonder where we will be in evolution at that point in time. Could it lead to an ascension in worldwide consciousness, similar to what a new update does for a computer? Pretty interesting. Thanks.